Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome back. As always, we're glad that you're here. We're glad you joined us this morning. Last week, we wrapped up the life of Hezekiah. And this week and over the next couple, we're going to talk about a king named Joash. But where we start today, he is not a king yet. He's actually just a baby. Yep, just a wee little tyke. So, we're going to start in Second Chronicles chapter 22. We're just going to read a couple verses in chapter 22, and then most of our time will be in chapter 23. So in 22, verse number 10, it says, "But when Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the seed royal of the house of Judah." So this, okay, so I shouldn't laugh, but this is just so crazy. You have to reread it and be like, wait, she did what? Basically, she killed all her grandkids because she wanted to be queen. So that sounds bizarre and crazy, and I hope it would sound that way to you guys. I hope you have great grandmas who love you, who would never think of that. Good news, they're probably not queens trying to reign. But Athaliah kills all of her grandkids because when her son dies, she wants to become the next queen instead of one of her grandkids taking the throne. Verse number 11, "But Jehoshabeth, the daughter of the king, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him from among the king's sons that were slain, and put him and his nurse in a bedchamber. So I knew I was going to trip up on that word, the daughter of the king Jehoram, the wife of Jehoiada the priest, for she was the sister of Ahaziah, hid him from Athaliah so that she knew him not." We have a lot of A and J names, boys and girls, and I just knew it as I was studying. I was going to trip up. Who knows? I probably still will. But thanks, Peter. Athaliah, the wicked queen, or wants to be queen, has now just killed all her grandchildren. But there was one child, Joash, who Jehoshabeth, the daughter of King Jehoram, snuck away. She takes Joash and she hides him actually in the temple because she is married to the priest Jehoiada. So Jehoiada and this lady, who happens to be Joash's aunt, hide Joash for 6 years. They hide him, they take care of him, they bring him up. Well, in these 6 years, Athaliah is getting to reign queen. She is getting what she desired. In verse number 12, it says, "And he was with them, hid in the house of God 6 years, and Athaliah reigned over the land." So she did wicked and she got what she wanted. Boys and girls, sin is pleasurable for a season, for a time. But 6 years later, she's going to reap what she sowed. But, before I get too far ahead of myself, let's look at chapter 23. We're going to kind of skim over the first 10 verses. I'm actually going to flip the page here in my Bible. And it basically talks about how Jehoiada the priest was getting things set up to anoint Joash as king. So the different ways he gathers people, he gathers the captains of hundreds, he gathers the priests, the Levites, and all these different people, gives them weapons. I'm sorry, Peter, you didn't gather any pandas. But he gathers all these people and he gets it set up because he wants to protect Joash from the queen. So we will pick up now in chapter 23, verse 11. "Then they brought out the king's son and put upon him the crown and gave him the testimony and made him king. And Jehoiada and his sons anointed him and said, 'God save the king.'" So at age 7, Joash has now become the king of a nation, and his grandma is currently the queen, but now he's been made king, so that still has to be worked out, but it's actually going to be worked out rather quickly. We will pick up then with verse 12. We're going to find out what Athaliah thinks about Joash being made king. "Now when Athaliah heard the noise of the people running and praising the king, she came to the people into the house of the Lord. And she looked, and behold, the king stood at his pillar at the entering in, and the princes and the trumpets by the king. And all the people of the land rejoiced and sounded with trumpets. Also the singers with instruments of music, and such as taught to sing praise. Then Athaliah rent her clothes and said, "Treason, treason." So she goes and she sees all that's going on. That was what was listed in that verse. She looks around, she sees it. She takes it in, she rents her clothes, she tears her clothes, and she starts to shout, "Treason, treason." Kind of ironic. The lady shouting treason is the one who killed all her grandchildren so she could become queen. She didn't go about it the right way. Now somebody goes about it the right way and she's upset, calling them out for it. She is very blinded by her sin. We'll put it that way, boys and girls. She's let her sin blind her sense of right and wrong. Verse 14, then Jehoiada the priest brought out the captains of hundreds that were set over the host and said unto them, have her forth of the ranges, and whoso followeth her, let him be slain with the sword. For the priest said, slay her not in the house of the Lord. So it's all right, Jehoiada stands up. Says, all right, Athaliah and anyone who follows her needs to be slain, needs to be killed, but don't do it here. Don't do it in the house of the Lord. Verse 15, so they laid hands on her, and when she was come to the entering of the horse gate by the king's house, they slew her there. Athaliah paid dearly for the sin that she committed. Boys and girls, she had killed people, innocent people, and what you reap what you sow. In this case, it's exactly the same. She had killed people, and now she was killed. She got what she wanted for a short time, boys and girls, but she paid for the sin that she committed. She didn't do what was right. Boys and girls, we can see that negative of this, but we also know that we reap what we sow when it comes to good things. And God takes care of his children. Thumbs up. That's right, Peter. God takes care of his children. God took care of Joash. We're going to study over the next couple weeks Joash reigning as king as a 7-year-old, how he's going to do that and how he's going to seek wise counsel. But I'm about to get ahead of myself again. So boys and girls, as you go about this week, remember that we pay for our sin. Lord, not that you want to use that necessarily as your motivation. You should do what's right because it is right. But remember, our sin does get punished. See you next week.